Hello, thank you for joining today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Colossians. Today we're going to be in chapter 3, verse 18. As we saw yesterday, 18 begins this new section that goes through to chapter 4, verse 1. So when you get a chance, go ahead and open up your Bibles and take a look at that whole section so you can see the full context of what we're going to read here today. So today we're going to look at verse 18, and in verse 18 it says this: Wives, be subject to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. So here we see the first of these commands/recommendations that are given for how a Christian family should honor and submit to Jesus. And we're going to see, as we said yesterday, we're going to see that there are three pairs of relationships. The first pair is the husband and wife, the second is the parent-child, and the third is the master-slave, recognizing that the master is really the husband and the wife of the family, and that the slave is part of that family household. So today we get to that first pairing, and we see the first part of the first pairing. We see the wife being spoken to in the wife-husband relationship. Now, why is this one first? Because it is the most important relationship of all the other relationships, which is an odd thing to say here in 2020 America, because if you looked around, you would think that the parent-child relationship is the number one most important relationship that any human being can have. And that is a great thing. It is so important for us to recognize the importance of our children. For too many years, too many centuries, children were treated as slightly above slave, if you would, and really just as a nuisance, as objects. But we have gotten past that. We've recognized the value of children, the importance of children. The problem is that now children have overtaken our relationship to our spouses, so much so that there are probably, I don't know the stats, but if I were to just throw it out at the top of my head, I wonder if there are as many families with a parent and children as there are with just two spouses. So the whole parent-child relationship has overtaken the husband-wife relationship, which really is not correct. That is why that I believe one of the reasons why there's so much divorce in the land is because parents have taken more care of their children than they do of their own relationship with their spouses. So it's so important for us to really make our husband-wife relationship the most important relationship we have after our relationship with God. And so here it comes first because it is the number one relationship. And it says, wives, be subject to your husbands. And we get to that word subject as we had spoken about a little bit yesterday. And I want to reiterate that this concept of wives being subject to their husbands is not the same as the relationship between parent and child and the relationship between master and slave. In those relationships, we're going to read that those subordinates are told to obey. In other words, do this, no ifs, ands, or buts. But here in the husband-wife relationship, we see that the wife is not told to obey the husband. It's a different word here. It's submit. And that word is very different. It's a different relationship. It's a different way of reacting. So the wife doesn't obey the husband. And nowhere in this verse does it say that the husband has the right to make the wife submit. That does not happen here in the Greek or in the English. So what this is saying is that wives, you are to voluntarily submit, voluntarily humble yourself to do and to be the second person in this two-person relationship with your husband. The husband is recognized as the head of the household here, but the wife is recognized not as a subordinate piece of property that is supposed to do whatever the husband says and where the husband has the right to make her do those things. That is not what this is saying whatsoever. It's saying, wives, as Christ has submitted himself and humbled himself to us in order that we can be saved, wives, the way you glorify God, the way you submit yourself to Jesus, is by submitting yourselves to your husbands. If your husbands ask you to do something, we do it with love and respect, humbling ourselves to do that work in order to build a love relationship with our husbands. So that's what submission means. It's voluntary. It doesn't mean that you do everything, because sometimes the husband might say to do something, and in that case, it might not be the right thing to do. The wife might recognize that it's anti-biblical or ungodly, and the wife absolutely is not called to obey that. But in other things, in all ways, that is, as far as it's possible, that the wife should humble herself to do those things that's being asked, because that is what the role of the wife is in terms of this two-person relationship, that idea of submission. So again, it's not obedience, it's submission. Very different word. One is a slave or child relationship, one is a wife relationship, where the wife does this voluntarily out of love. So that's what we have here for today in verse 18. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions about submission, about the wife-husband relationship, or anything else that was mentioned today, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.